JamesAllen.com is the online destination to easily design a customized engagement ring and save up to 50% compared to traditional stores. You pick a diamond, whether it's lab-created or earth-created, James Allen has over 200,000 conflict-free stones. Then you pick your ring setting and metal. And if you need some help, they have real-time diamond consultations available, where an expert can walk you through it all. Get 25% off your order at JamesAllen.com code podcast. That's JamesAllen.com code podcast.
Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Welcome in here to the Friday Shoot-Around. I am Ryan Gilbert. Today we are once again joined by former Wildcat Austin Budke. Austin joined us a few weeks ago on the show when he makes his return. Before we dive into things here on the Shoot-Around, we're sponsored as always by the Part-Time Beverage Company. Be sure to check them out at your local liquor store. Austin, been a few weeks since we've talked with you. Just overall takeaways from this K-State team over the last number of weeks.
Man, I've kind of been all over the place. I've had a lot of travel since we last talked. Luckily I can record all of the games on YouTube TV. So I think there's been 3 games so far that I was on a flight and I couldn't watch the game. So I had the situation where I get all of the feedback on Twitter and I get everyone's thoughts, yours included. And then I go back and watch it, like the recording after. And I think when you do it that way, everything is way more pessimistic. Like the Iowa State game on Saturday, I couldn't watch it. I was actually in Mardi Gras, and there was no service. The only updates I was getting was texts from like my brothers and my wife. And I would have thought that we were losing by 30 points at halftime. Like everything was so depressing. We can't do anything, where nothing's going right. And then I went back and watched the game when I got home, and we played pretty well. I was like, all right. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough game at home against a really well-coached team. So I think, we obviously had a little lull there. I think we lost 3 of 4, obviously, and everyone on social media was acting like the world was going to end. But dude, as we talk about all the time, this league is a slaughterhouse. I mean, KU lost 3 games earlier this year in a row. Like, when's the last time that happened? So I think we're kind of past that little rough stretch that every single team is going to have inevitably. And now, we're back to being, we're going to win the national championship. Here we come. Watch out. That's how things go here. When we're down, everyone's down. When we're up, everyone's up. So we're on the upswing here in the roller coaster, and I'm excited for it, man.
You think Scott Drew lost that game on purpose just to help out his former assistant coach, Trumte?
Dude, they looked rough. I don't know I was sitting there last night watching the game wondering, do we look good or does Baylor just look this bad? And I think probably a little bit of both. I think more of the latter. Fran Fraschilla was all over it. He called it from the jump. Fran was like, man, these guys look tired. They have no energy. They're not guarding, and they're not a good defensive team anyway. Like every statistic, Baylor is the worst defensive team in the Big 12. Which is strange because when I was playing, they were just chock full of like 6'9" dudes, and you couldn't make a pass because they all had 7'3" wingspans and there was no passing windows. And now it's like Swiss cheese, man. That was rough. And Fran kept talking about tired. They just played at KU on Saturday. That was obviously an emotional loss for them. They stayed in Kansas. I don't know where they stayed, Topeka or whatever, so it's not like they were going out in Topeka or wherever the hell they stayed. So I don't know what the excuse was. I don't know how you're tired. Like, this is the Big 12. Everyone's tired, but that's why you do conditioning in the offseason. And that's what you get prepared for things like this. So I don't see that as an excuse. I don't think Fran was trying to make an excuse. I think Fran was just calling it out. Like, Baylor looks tired. They have no energy. There's no intensity. And it showed, man. They looked really bad. And I think that, I mean, just credit to us for capitalizing. Like, those are the type of games where if you catch a really, really, really talented Baylor team on a weird night where they don't have energy, that you have to take advantage of those games. And we did, man. We looked really good.
I want to talk about having fresh feet later on here in the second half, but I'm curious, Austin, where's the Michelob Ultra? What is that, a sweet tea?
This is a Costco brand LaCroix, or I guess sparkling water.
Oh, man.
It's 12:30 on a Wednesday. I'm never opposed to cracking open a Michelob Ultra, but we were just talking offline. I'm jumping on a flight here in 6 hours to go to Tampa for a golf trip, and I have not ready. I'm not prepared. I have not packed. I have not mentally prepared myself for the endeavor that I'm going to be partaking over the next 6 days. So I'm trying to front load the hydration right here. But there will be plenty of Michelob Ultras had this weekend. You don't worry about that.
Well, that just shows you how much Austin cares about the Friday shoot around, that he's able to squeeze time in with us.
Dude, we gotta hydrate. We gotta, I'm not gonna be like Baylor out there this weekend. I'm not gonna be low energy on the golf course. Tired. Like, I gotta get my conditioning in now.
Back to basketball. Let's digress let's dive into this Baylor game a little bit. Keontae Johnson, man, if he plays like that, 25 points against the Bears, if he plays like that, where he can just go out and score, I think he hit a 3-pointer or two, and he can dunk it. His mid-range game is very strong. If he can do that, Kansas State, it's not going to take a miracle for this team to make a deep run in March. Would you agree?
Yeah, dude. We talked about the last time I was on. Absolutely free money yesterday. If you I took this bet. I almost texted you before I placed it, but I didn't want to be wrong, knowing that I was coming on here today. I should have done it. It was so easy money. Keontae Johnson, 15 plus points. Keontae George, 15 plus points. Parlay last night was plus 125. Yeah. So getting a little bit of juice on both of our best player and their best player to have 15 points or more. I was like, this is, once again, I thought I was taking crazy pills. I mean, Keontae Johnson, dude, and Fran touched on this yesterday. He shows up for every big game. I mean, Texas, KU, Baylor, it doesn't matter. Like, if we are playing like an intense, like the spread is 3 points or under, like, I'm just going to start blindly betting Keontae Johnson, like, point props. Like, the dude shows up for the big games. And I think what showed yesterday is there was a rough stretch where Keontae, I think he even admit he was not playing well. He was having more turnovers than points. And to me, it was just, he became so reliant on head down, I'm going to get into the lane, and I'm just going to try to bully everyone. And it became so predictable. And I mean, I feel like I saw the same play over and over and over again through that stretch where he would catch the ball and he would just go right as hard as he can, head down, and everyone is in there slapping their hands. And, that's where you get turnovers. And I think yesterday in the last, few games that he's played really well, it's been cutting. He got a lot of points yesterday just on making super simple cuts and getting free buckets at the basket. But then, man, like, I know the analytics nerds hate mid-range jump shots and high post-ups and stuff, but he is so damn good at just taking his time in the mid-post at the free throw line and just elevating and shooting 12 to 15-foot jumpers. I mean, Fran Fraschilla was calling him he compared him to Mitch Richmond or Rolando Blackman, one of the two yesterday. And I was like, Fran, I don't know if you want to go there, but like he does kind of have like an older game, just like that mid-range game, which, like I said, every single analytic person out there will tell you that's not the shots you want to take in today's basketball. But he is elite in that range. And it was refreshing yesterday to see him just go back to what he's so good at and he didn't force anything, I guess is what I'm trying to say. He didn't really one time put his head down and go, which was great to see, man.
Marquise Noel against Baylor didn't really light up the scoring, but 10 assists, 0 turnovers. How important can that be to obviously help out his team, but help out Keontae Johnson as well?
That was his best game yesterday. That was his best game I've ever seen him play. And I said it at halftime. I know if you look at the stat line afterwards, it's like, oh, wait, great, Austin. That's not really a hot take. He had 10 assists, 0 turnovers. But, I mean, he was in such control. He was so under control, which, I think he is such a boomer bust player that I like it when he scored. What do you have, 30-some points against Baylor last time? His stat line the last time we played was insane. And I think he's capable of those games. That's why I never bet Marquise Noel points props, because he's either going to have 32 points or he's going to have 6. So I just stay away from those. But yesterday was so impressive, man. He made so many right decisions. I thought he was locked in defensively. I think those 2 guards at Baylor, Cryer and Flagler, like those guys get a lot of pub. I mean, they're really good, so it's deserved. But I think Marquise kind of had a little chip on his shoulder, and he locked in a little bit more defensively. But man, that was fun to watch. I'm a little bit apprehensive that maybe Baylor just sucks on defense, and that's why it just looks so easy. So I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. But I think if you're a K-State fan, like just seeing how Marquise handled that game yesterday, just knowing like, hey man, like I don't have to come out here and just throw it up and score. Like what I really need to do is just facilitate and make sure that we're getting open shots. He can't do that every game, because we're going to need some games, especially in the tournament, where we're going to need him to have 25 points. But that was a different player than I've seen during his tenure at K-State, and it was awesome.
We'll wrap it up with this for the first half. I want to talk about Desi Sills and having him in the starting lineup. What do you think kind of went behind that decision? Was Tang maybe wanting to go a little smaller? Was he taking some advice from certain people, or do you think it was just a matter of Desi earning that spot?
I don't know, man. That's Fran kind of mentioned that at the beginning of the game, and I can't remember what Fran said. I don't really look a lot into like who starts and who doesn't. Like sometimes it's just, I know like when I was there, like Weber sometimes would switch up the starting lineups, and it was almost always like a motivation thing. He either wanted someone to get going, so he's like, hey, this guy has been coming off the bench, I'm going to start him with the hope that it like triggers something in his brain. Or if it was the opposite, where someone has been starting and they have been, underperforming, like I'm going to sit them this game to try to like light a fire under them. I don't remember like one time when I was playing where coach was like, I'm going to start this person instead of this person because of some strategic advantage. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're going to play who you think is going to win, whether they come off the bench or not. So if I had to guess, I'm guessing it was some sort of like spark plug thing where like I like the move. Like Desi is, I think he's the ultimate sixth man, just because he comes off the bench and he's like, I mean, he's just like an Energizer bunny. He's just all over the place. I mean, that play against Iowa State that like blew up and, has a bunch of impressions on Twitter. I mean, that's just like, that's what he does. And I love guys that come off the bench and do that. But I mean, he showed yesterday that he's just as good to be in the starting lineup. So, I mean, either way, I don't think coach can really go wrong. I didn't look too much into it. I'm just, my hunch is that it was some motivation thing, one way or the other, but who knows?
He is Austin Budke. I'm Ryan Gilbert. We'll take a quick break here on the Friday Shoot Around.
Is your January looking dry? Get some lotion. Get a humidifier. And better yet, get Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can compare prices across local stores to get the best price on a huge selection of drinks perfect for dry January. Every single time. Non-alcoholic wines? Have a look. Ready-made mocktails? Grab a straw and order them up. Beer without the alcohol? Yep, take your pick. You can find all of them here, in the app, in that phone that's in your hand. Could it be any simpler? Nope, not a chance. So shop for great deals on all your dry January beverages or other drinks and get them delivered to your door or blanket fort, maybe. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations. And don't forget to lotion up your elbows. They're looking a little dry.
Welcome back in here to the Friday Shoot Around. I am Ryan Gilbert. Today we're joined by former Wildcat Austin Budke. Austin, let's jump right back into things here with Kansas State basketball. They've lost 5 in a row on the road. Obviously, Graham Witch Coliseum has been a good place to play, but 2 of the final 3 games are away from home. Are you concerned about Kansas State losing these games just because they're on the road? These are probably the two easiest. Maybe you can throw Oklahoma in there with the easiest game on the road, but West Virginia, Oklahoma State, those teams are near the bottom. Can Kansas State win both of these games? Are you satisfied with just one? What are your kind of thoughts on just these road games coming up?
Dude, it is so tough to win on the road. I mean, and that's like the least hot take of all time. But I think where we're at right now, I mean, I think you have to look at it from what are your expectations? If you're one of those people that's like, we need to try to continue to win the Big 12 and we need to be a top 2 seed, then I think if your goal is that, then you have to win the last 3. To me, I don't realistically think we can win the Big 12. I think KU is just playing too well right now. We were 2 games behind them with 3 to play. We'd really need them to trip up. So I had 150 to 1 bet at the beginning of the year. I've kind of given up on that, unfortunately. But to me, I just want to. I'm more interested in watching, like, right now we have a ton of momentum. And I'm more interested in, like, even if we drop one of these in a super close game, like, how do we play? Like, do we continue to play? Like, this is every college basketball analyst always talks about peaking at the right time. And it is such a true thing. Like, there's tons of peaks and valleys throughout the season. We talked about it earlier. Like, we lost 3 of 4. KU lost 3 in a row. Baylor started 0-4. So there's all these peaks and valleys. Like, right now we're playing really well. We're getting back to kind of like how we did at the beginning of the year. I just think we gotta keep playing hard. And if we win all 3, great. If we go 2-1, I'm fine. If we drop both road games in a super close games, not the end of the world, man. I still think we'll be a decently high seed in the Big 12 tournament. And as long as we don't, like, get blown out or anything, I think we'll be a top 3, probably 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. So I just think that it's similar to, like, my senior year. My senior year, like, we had a really weird stretch, like, right about this time. I think we were on the bubble basically the entire year. And I think the third to last game or second, I think there was 3 games left. We went to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma was the worst team in the league that year, if you remember. And we got absolutely horse raced. Like, we lost by 35. Like, it wasn't even close. It was an absolute disaster. And that was, like, the moment where we as a team, and I think the coaching staff knew it, like, this is the inflection point. Like, there's only 2 games left in the regular season. You have Big 12 play, and then you have the tournament if you make it. Like, if you're going to be one of those teams that's peaking at the right time, you have to go up from here. Like, you can't go down. And we, as a team, went up. Like, we went on the road at a really good TCU team and won. We beat Baylor in the Big 12 tournament. So we were peaking at the right time. And we, luckily got into the tournament. And I think we're at that very stage here with this team where I want to see them continue to play well and, like, that upward trajectory, so that by the time we get to the Big 12 tournament and March Madness, that, it doesn't really matter, like, what our record is at this point. It's really all for seeding. But I'm more interested in, like, how are we playing? Like, are we peaking at the right time?
Which K-State team do you think is the true K-State team? The one that we saw, I guess, the last 2 games and in the beginning of conference play, or is it kind of that team that you talked about losing 3 or 4? I think they lost 5 to 7 at one point. Which team? I know that you got to get hot and click at the right time heading into March, but which team do you really think was the real K-State team?
I think the last 2 games is a pretty accurate representation of what we are as a team. And that is a team that brings a lot of energy. We're a weird matchup team. We have some really, really good scores. Defensively, we're still just not great. I mean, we're just not great. We're going to have some dumb turnovers. Yesterday, I thought we did really well. We only had, 7 turnovers or something. I think the first 2 games of Big 12, Texas and Baylor, those were anomalies. I actually went back and watched the Texas game because I had it recorded. I just skimmed through it and watched some of, like, the most important plays. That was, dude, we looked like an NBA team. We were in true effort mode. Like, it was the do him offense. There was no it was dribble. We're going to push everything, and it's 1-2 pass. If you're open, shoot. And we're making everything. We shot like 60% from the field against Texas. I think those were just 2 games. Honestly, what I think we had such a chip on our shoulder those first 2 Big 12 games against Baylor and Texas. Like, I think those, like, our team came to play and was just like, man, we are going to show everyone that picked us to finish last. Like, we're going to show you. And it was like an out of body experience. Like, when everything is against you and you just go out there and it's just no consequences, like, we're just going to go. I think that rough stretch we had was kind of the opposite of that, where we probably got a little content and, we're ranked high and everyone's talking about us or getting all this publicity, and we start to tighten up a little bit. We started playing like just a team that we're not built to be. We started slowing things down more, and I just think we need to really go. I think the last 2 games we kind of got back to our roots. Yesterday specifically, where push everything in transition. Like, I don't care if it's a made basket or not, go. And man, like, we can't slow the ball up. There was a couple of times yesterday, especially in that first half. I think, what did Baylor go on? A 21-3 run, I think.
Yep.
And I think the key piece of that run is we tried to, like, slow things down. We got up 10, and I think our natural reaction was like, "Whoa, okay, we're up 10. Like, let's try to figure things out." Marquise was like kind of walking the ball up the court. We'd call out a play. We'd set a high ball screen with 12 seconds left on the shot clock. Just like, no, go. Like, we are an elite drive and kick team. When we get into the paint, we can find open people. We have people that can make shots. I know we haven't been making a ton of shots recently, but, that comes and goes. So I think the last 2 games are, like, probably a good balance of, like, where we are as a team, where we're going to have some drawbacks defensively, specifically rebounding. But we have enough scoring on offense, and we're really well coached. I think we make a lot of good in-game adjustments and stuff. So I think if we play the rest of the season like we have the last 2 games, dude, like, I mean, we can, like I said, I don't want to be the people on Twitter that are talking about winning national championships yet, but I mean, we really can beat anyone if we play like that.
Scott Drew mentioned after the Baylor game that the Big 12 is the best that he's ever seen it from top to bottom. I'm curious, how much do you, I guess, by and large, has the Big 12 changed since you were playing in it? You mentioned Baylor being a team that's more offensively driven now than defensively driven than when you were playing against them. I mean, has it really changed that much? I don't know if you haven't been watching, like, the Big 12 night in and night out with every game. You've at least seen every team that Kansas State's played almost twice now each, right? So how much has this league changed? Is it really that much better than what you played in it, what it was like?
I mean, I don't think I think it might be better. It's hard to compare. But as deep, I don't think it's been any different. Fran was talking, I think Fran mentioned yesterday that this Big 12, this conference this year, is the best conference he's ever seen. Well, that very well may be true, but my senior year, the Big 12 broke the record. That would have been the 2016-2017 season. We broke the record for highest average RPI. I don't even think RPI is a metric they use anymore, but back in the day, like, everything was based on RPI, and the Big 12, the average RPI that year was it broke the record of, like, all time. And I just told the story, like, the worst team that year was Oklahoma. They had just come off that Final Four team. They had a lot of, like, new guys. It was young faces, and they smashed us. The worst team in the Big 12 just absolutely ran us out of the gym. And it's similar to this year. Like, Texas Tech starts 0-10, and now they're on the bubble. Like, where the hell did that come from? My senior year was crazy because KU was obviously really good that year. Baylor, people forget that Baylor, we went on the road. We beat Baylor twice that year. We went 2-1 against Baylor. And both times we beat them, they were number 2 in the country. And then West Virginia was a top 10 team that year. Oklahoma State made the second round of the tournament. That was Underwood's first year. TCU, I think that was Jamie Dixon's first year. And we finished, I think, 6th or 7th in the Big 12, and we, won a game in the tournament. And I think that year reminds me a lot of this year, and just the fact that, it's like every single game. Looking at our schedule, we play at Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma, at West V. We're a top 10 team in the country, and we'll probably be underdogs in 2 of those games. Like, that's insane. that at the last 3 games in this conference, we're probably going to be underdogs in 2 of them. Like you don't get that anywhere, man. It is a gauntlet.
I want to ask you about Fran Fraschilla. You've mentioned him like 7 or 8 times. Do you think he's probably the best commentator in college basketball?
Fran is my guy. I love that dude.
Yeah.
Him and we chatted all the time when I was playing. I think we had a mutual respect for each other. I think he really liked the way that I played. And so, we chopped it up a lot. He is someone, for me, like as a basketball nerd, like it's hard for me to watch games, especially K-State games, as a fan. Like I watch it as like from a coaching style because it's just ingrained in my brain. I've watched so much film and everything from my playing days. I analyze everything. And Fran is like always, if I'm thinking something, like yesterday, for example, right when they come out, my first reaction was, man, Baylor looks slow. Like these guys just look like they don't want to be here. And then 30 seconds later, Fran makes a comment saying, man, Baylor looks really tired. So we're in lockstep. He's also hilarious if you catch him like outside of commentating. I sat next to him the year after I graduated. I went to what was it? Oh, it was an exhibition game against Emporia State. It was the year after I left school, and I actually sat next to him in the front row. For some reason, he was in town and wanted to catch a Kansas State versus Emporia State exhibition game, which God bless him, good for him. And we just chatted the whole time. And God, he was cracking me up with some of his stories. And the all-time Fran Fraschilla story, man, is I think it was my senior year, maybe my junior year. Yeah, I think it was my senior year. I can't remember. We were playing, I think it was the Big 12 tournament. We were in Kansas City. We were playing at the T-Mobile Center or Sprint Center. And I had just played a pretty decent game, like for my standards, like a good game for me is like 4 rebounds and 2 points. So, I was feeling pretty good, played a good game.
It's higher than your GPA, right?
Yeah. If my goal was to always score more points than my GPA, I think I probably did that like 5 times. So I was walking out of the concourse at the Sprint Center, and I caught him, and he said, "Hey, Budke, come here. I gotta ask you something." And I'm like, all right. And he was with someone, I don't know, like one of his coworkers or something at ESPN. And he said, "Hey, you had a couple, really good rebounds tonight. Do you think that being a chemical engineer helps you in getting those rebounds? Like, do you think you can like see the angles better and like know like where the ball is bouncing?" And it was the funniest question I've ever been asked. And I just didn't even want to, because like the obvious answer is like, no. Like, you think I'm out there like looking at obtuse angles and trying to traject? Like, I'm a chemical engineer. I'm not a physicist. But I thought the question was so funny that I was just like, yeah, Fran, now that you mention it, like, I think it does happen. And he was like so excited. He's like, that's great to hear. I'm going to use that. And then sure enough, I think the next game when I checked in, like he told that story on the air. He's like, I talked to Austin Budke after the game, and he was telling me how being a chemical engineer helps him with rebounding and stuff. And God, he's just the most wholesome dude. Like, he just loves the game. He loves the insights on that. And if you ever get a chance to like just catch him, like have a beer with him, he's got some fun stories, man. He's awesome.
I think I appreciate most about Fran is he tells it like it is. And I think that's why certain fan bases don't like him. I'm not taking a jab at KU, but I know their fans don't love him, but they just sometimes can't handle the truth.
Yeah, that dude is plugged in. Like, he talks, he knows everything. And so he's very subtle about it. And he knows what goes on and everything. Like, he's very tuned in. He's not oblivious, and he is not afraid to make subtle jabs about stuff like that. And me, selfishly, I wish he would just go all the way and just one of these days, like, just melt down and talk about it, everything that, he knows. But, he's authentic, and he is very knowledgeable about the college basketball, but specifically the Big 12. Like, he spends a lot of time with these teams. He knows every roster. He knows every play style. And like I said, whenever I'm watching a Fran game, it just feels like my perception of what is happening is always like a lockstep with what he's saying, which is like the highest compliment I could give a commentator.
Austin, before I let you go, dude, I want to ask if you've got any locks coming up for K-State basketball?
Let's look here. So we go at Oklahoma State, 1 p.m. game, ESPNU Saturday. I'm staying away from that unless we're like 12-point underdogs or something. I'm not touching that. Then what we have? Oklahoma, 7 p.m. That's a Tuesday?
Wednesday. I think it's a Wednesday game.
Wow, okay. 1 p.m. or 7 p.m. I'll have to look and see what's going on there. That if we lose at Oklahoma State, that could be a Keontae Johnson game. Just bet like 15 points or 20 plus points. And then at West Virginia, if we're underdogs in that game, I'll probably take K-State. I think that's a game where West Virginia is going to have enough to play for. Their crowd's going to be going, and I feel like we show up for those games. Like as long like we're kind of like we show up for the big games. We kind of talked about it a little bit with Keontae, so that might be one I have circled depending on the line. We'll probably be 2 or 3 point underdogs, so that's definitely a game I think we can win. I think we match up well against West Virginia. But other than that, man, these last 3 games are weird. I thought yesterday I had 2 big bets. I had K-State plus 1.5, which I felt pretty good about. And then, I already talked about it, the Keontae 15-point parlay. Looking at the box score now, I should have just done a 20-point parlay because they both scored 20. So I guess beggars can't be choosers, but I'll let you know. I'll text you if I see anything hot, and you can share it with your audience.
I'll follow Mr. Budke, my financial advisor.
I'm a chemical engineer. I don't know money.
Same thing. Pearson can help us with that, right?
Yeah, okay.
We'll have to get you and him and Mason here at some point here in the studio.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm down. Big 12 tournaments coming up. If you're going to be in KC, let's link up for the Big 12 tournament. I think I'm gonna actually be on the road at a work trip for Wednesday, Thursday of the Big 12 tournament. I don't know, but
I'll plan on having a beer with you, and if not, I'll just hit up Fran. Call it good. Yeah.
Dude, here we go. I'll text Fran and we'll get him on the podcast. Me, you, Fran, and Pearson can help produce it. So
yeah. Here
we go.
Cool. Austin Budke, I appreciate you joining here on the Friday Shoot Around once again. We are sponsored by the Part-Time Beverage Company.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Matt Ryan?
Did you know the NFL playoffs on CBS stream live on Paramount Plus?
I just want a frozen fudge bar.
Bet you didn't know Super Bowl 58 was in Vegas this year.
What about a Sunday?
Super Bowl Sunday on CBS streams live on Paramount Plus.
Seriously?
Would an NFL MVP live?
Former MVP. Can we at least get a selfie?
Of course.
I got your NFL playoffs on CBS and Super Bowl 58 streaming live on Paramount Plus.